Like, I'm so proud of Prince. I mean, I got to tell you, I mean, people have this misconception of, whatever. I think because people just don't understand our story and the real dynamic. But I'm super proud of him. I'm super proud of Morris. I'm super proud of Jimmy and Terry.
Yeah.
I remember Jimmy not that long ago, which was actually kind of funny. A lot of people don't know, how close everybody really is, but
Mhm.
they are related. And so I ran into Jimmy just I think Paul Peterson was doing a show here in LA at the Vibrato Club, and
Mhm.
Jesse Suan, who basically I discovered Suan, but everybody gives Prince the credit, which is fine. But I found her in a little hole in the wall club because my older brother said, you got to hear this girl. She can sing. So I went down, like 14, 15 years old, and I said, oh man. And she blew me away. So I brought Prince and our manager down, and then they signed her to a record deal. But 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 they were all singing at this club, and I come and check it out, and then somebody said Jimmy Jam is upstairs. I was like, get out of here, really? I said, I gotta go holler at his brother because I hadn't seen him for a while, and so I go up there. He's in the VIP. I'm not a VIP. I don't believe in VIP. So I go up to VIP, and the guy that's I guess the guard up there is a friend of mine, somebody I know from he's like, Andre, and hadn't seen me for a while. And he's like, I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? It's Kelvin. So we're hollering and going up. I said, I gotta holler at Jimmy. He said, yeah, go ahead. It's like, so I go up to Jimmy, and he's watching the band, right? And I go up there. I said, man, are they really that good? And I'm like messing with him. He's like, and he didn't want to look, right? Because he's like, who is this? I know I can just see his mind. Who is this? Like, are they really that good? I bet you could go down there and show them how to do it. Finally, I think something about it. It's like, Andre. It's like, we were like laughing, and anyway, we just I'm that brother. I'm that kind of because I just like to, but I'm always super proud of all of those guys and what they've done, and any little thing that I could have ever done to do whatever I could do to help them, get to where they wanted to go. I was always doing it. I think a lot of people have no idea, some of the things that I've done to help them, and I don't do it for, you don't, if you don't do stuff for credit or just to, then you're doing it for a different reason. I do it because first of all, they're talented,
Right.
because Jimmy, I was absolutely, let's see, what would you call it? I wouldn't say jealous, but because their band was really good. I mean, I thought our band was better. I was very competitive, and even Terry, because Terry Lewis was in a different band, and their
Mhm.
band was good. I mean, their band was like, I actually played in their band for a hot minute. I think I did a gig with them somewhere way out in sticks. One of the founding members was a really good friend of mine, a guy named Batman. They called him Batman. His name was David Island. He just came knocking on my doors in the wintertime. He's like, yo, Trey, man, our guitar player didn't show up, man. Can you sit in? I was like, sure, man. Grab my coat, grab my guitar, and went and did the gig. Didn't know any of the songs, but just it's guitar, so you just jam and figure it out. But they were really good. And all of those bands, a lot of those bands were really, 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 really good. And a lot of people don't know how good a drummer Morris actually is.
Mhm.
I'm talking, I don't, Morris made me kind of stop playing drums for a while, because I always thought couldn't nobody play drums as good as me. You
Mhm.
know, when Morris came along, I was like, well, I don't even need to play the drums no more. I got this brother, and he was left-handed, but he could play his behind off. And I knew that was going to take us to another level.
Well, I read about you being in a band with Morris and his sister, Linda, was it?
Around, yeah, Morris was in a band with me and my sister. Yeah,
Okay. Sorry.
yeah, that's okay. No, Morris would follow me around to try to get in our band, and I told him we already have a drummer, and he's like, but I'm better. And I'm like, yeah, that's what they all say. And he kept, you know, kept at me, kept, asking me, kept telling me how great he was. Every time we would do a show somewhere and a gig somewhere, Morris would show up and tell me how good he was. So finally I went to hear him, and he was right.
Mm.
amazing, and I was like, come down to, let me let the rest of the band hear you. And he came down, and, like Morris would tell you, his drums never left. So that
Right.
was how that happened. So, so I brought Morris into, into our whole thing. The interesting thing that, you don't hear that much about, because obviously when Prince's thing happened, um, um, instead of using Morris as a drummer in the band, which is what I thought would have been perfect, because I thought Morris was, as a bass player, I really loved playing with Morris because we just had a vibe.
Mhm.
Um, but Bobby Z was always around. He worked for the manager, Prince's manager at the time. So he was always around. So we were always jamming, and we were always doing stuff with Bobby. Um, and so it became just, you know, Bobby just became the drummer. We auditioned some other drummers as well, but Bobby was so solid, and he didn't, he would basically do whatever you told him to do.
Mhm.
He didn't go the lines, and and Prince, would play, pretty basic, drums. I mean, Prince was, he was a good drummer, but you know, there's a lot of really good drummers that we were around at the time. My cousin was like one of the best drummers in the city. So, you know, um, but Prince just wanted somebody that could really just play what he played, you know,
Mhm.
and 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 stick to that. And Morris was not. Morris was had a different style, and Morris playing what Prince played would be, kind of doing Morris. It'd be hard for Morris to stick in that zone. So Morris was kind of, so he was out. So he you know, and I think him and his mother and his family moved to Gaithersburg or somewhere, but he came back, and we were still close. And he was like, man, you got to get me in the thing, man. You got to get me in the thing. And I was like, we got to do something for Morris, man. We got to put a band together for him or something, because, Prince had, he had his record deal, he had connections with, which, I was starting to try to get my own, connections together. We had a couple of offers to produce, a couple of groups from Ren Woods, she was in Car Wash, and, and I think Diana Ross was interested in doing some stuff. So we were trying to, get this whole thing together. But Morris wanted it. He wanted to be a part of it. He was like, he'd hear about it, because at that time, me and Prince were like, this is before Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, before obviously the time, because this is
Mhm.
all the time. This is the first notion of, the
Mhm.
idea of a band. Well, but me and Prince were the only two people in the city that, were like, we were tour the world and all that kind of stuff. And in a small town like Minnesota, Minneapolis, that was kind of a big thing. So it was Andre and Prince and Andre, blah, 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 blah. you know, um, but Morris, he'd heard about it, and he'd come. Finally, I brought him down to to the rehearsal where we were rehearsing. He'd come in, and then I was like, we got to do something for him. He's too talented, And so he wound up, I think, doing what was it? Shooting video. He would video us. He was kind of our videographer, and so he would do that whole thing for a minute, and then we just said, listen, you should put together a band. Find Flight Time ain't doing nothing. See if they see if if they're willing to do something, and we'll see what we can do. And it came from there. I wound up falling out right around that same time because some issues with some songs came up, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. I bounced. The next thing I knew, um, you know, the time, you know. So that's how Morris got in. And it was, the thing is, again, super proud because, the interesting thing with Morris is, in our band, Morris didn't really sing very much. He sang maybe a couple of songs, and they were usually ballads, but to see him out there, just dancing and having fun, and to see it blow up and become really, really, super popular, super proud. I mean, how can you not be?
Yeah.
I mean, if I just know what it took for all this stuff to get where it got. And it was not easy, the whole backstory to a lot of this stuff that, maybe one day, hopefully it'll come out, but it's just, all of those guys, I mean, and it keeps going. And Jesse, I'm really proud of him. Paul, obviously, proud of him. Sean LaBelle, who's doing stuff, proud of him. There's a lot of Minneapolis talent that's that's out, and that I'm proud of. Whatever little part I played, and helping them get from point A to point B. Super proud of it.